So these are steps in the community that will lead to fewer folks being arrested in the first place. Now, they won't eliminate crime entirely. There's going to be crime. That's why the second place we need to change is in the courtroom. For nonviolent drug crimes, we need to lower long mandatory minimum sentences or get rid of them entirely. Give judges some discretion around nonviolent crimes so that, potentially, we can steer a young person who has made a mistake in a better direction. We should pass a sentencing reform bill through Congress this year. We need to ask prosecutors to use their discretion to seek the best punishment. The one that's going to be most effective, instead of just the longest punishment. We should invest in alternatives to prison, like drug courts and treatment and probation. Programs which ultimately can save taxpayers thousands of dollars per defendant each year. Now, even if we're locking up fewer people, even if we are reforming sentencing guidelines, as I've said before, some criminals still deserve to go to jail. And as Republican Senator John Cornyn has reminded us, virtually all of the people incarcerated in our prisons will eventually someday be released. And that's why the third place we need to reform is in the cell block. So on Thursday, I will be the first sitting president to visit a federal prison. And I'm going to shine a spotlight on this issue, because while the people in our prisons have made some mistakes, and sometimes big mistakes, they are also Americans, and we have to make sure that as they do their time, and pay back their debt to society, that we are increasing the possibility that they can turn their lives around. That doesn't mean that we will turn everybody's life around. That doesn't mean there aren't some hard cases. But it does mean that we want to be in a position in which, if somebody in the midst of imprisonment recognizes the error of their ways, is in the process of reflecting about where they've been and where they should be going. We've got to make sure that they're in a position to make the turn. And that's why we should not tolerate conditions in prison that have no place in any civilized country. We should not be tolerating overcrowding in prison. We should not be tolerating gang activity in prison. We should not be tolerating rape in prison. And we shouldn't be making jokes about it in our popular culture. That's no joke. These things are unacceptable. What's more, I've asked my Attorney General to start a review of the overuse of solitary confinement across American prisons. The social science shows that an environment like that is often more likely to make inmates more alienated. More hostile, potentially more violent. Do we really think it makes sense to lock so many people alone in tiny cells for 23 hours a day? Sometimes for months or even years at a time. That is not going to make us safer. That's not going to make us stronger. And if those individuals are ultimately released, how are they ever going to adapt? It's not smart. Our prisons should be a place where we can train people for skills that can help them find a job. not train them to become more hardened criminals. Look, I don't want to pretend like this is all easy. But some places are doing better than others. Montgomery County, Maryland put a job training center inside the prison walls to give folks a head start in thinking about what might you do otherwise than committing crime. That's a good idea. Here's another good idea, one with bipartisan support in Congress. Let's reward prisoners with reduced sentences if they complete programs that make them less likely to commit a repeat offense. Let's invest in innovative new approaches to link former prisoners with employers and help them stay on track. Let's follow the growing number of our states and cities and private companies who have decided to ban the box on job applications so that former prisoners who have done their time and are now trying to get straight with society have a decent shot in a job interview. And if folks have served their time, and they've re-entered society, they should be able to vote. Communities that give our young people every shot at success, courts that are tough but fair. Prisons that recognize eventually the majority will be released and so seek to prepare. These returning citizens to grab that second chance, that's where we need to build. But I want to add this. We can't ask our police, or our prosecutors, or our prison guards, or our judges to bear the entire burden of containing and controlling problems that the rest of us are not facing up to and willing to do something about. So, yes, we have to stand up to those who are determined to slash investments in our Communities at any cost cutting preschool programs, cutting job training programs. Cutting affordable housing programs, cutting community policing programs. That's short-sighted. Those investments make this country strong. An African American man born roughly 25 years ago has just a 1 in 2 chance of being employed today. More than 1 in 3 African American children are growing up in poverty. When America's unemployment rate was 9.5%, when I first came into office. As it was going up, we properly recognized this is a crisis. Right now, the unemployment rate among African Americans is 9.5%. What should we call that? It is a crisis. And we have to be just as. Concerned about continuing to lift up job opportunities for these young people. So today, I've been talking about the criminal justice system. But we have to recognize that it's not something we can view in isolation. Any system that allows us to turn a blind eye to hopelessness and despair. That's not a justice system, it is an injustice system. But that is an extension and a reflection of some broader decisions that we're making as a society. And that has to change. That has to change. What the marchers on Washington knew, what the marchers in Selma knew. What folks like Julian Bond knew, what the marchers in this room still know. Is that justice is not only the absence of oppression, it is the presence of opportunity. Justice is giving every child a shot at a great education no matter what zip code they're born into. Justice is giving everyone willing to work hard the chance at a good job with good wages. No matter what their name is, what their skin color is, where they live. "50 years after the Voting Rights Act, justice is protecting that right for every American. Justice is living up to the common creed that says, I am my brother's keeper and my sister's keeper. Justice is making sure every young person knows they are special and they are important and that their lives matter, not because they heard it in a hashtag, but because of the love they feel every single day, not just love from their parents. Not just love from their neighborhood, but love from police, love from politicians. Love from somebody who lives on the other side of the country. But says, that young person is still important to me. That's what justice is. And in the American tradition and in the immigrant tradition of remaking ourselves. In the Christian tradition that says none of us is without sin and all of us need redemption, justice and redemption go hand in hand. Right before I came out here, I met with 4 former prisoners, 4 ex-offenders. Two of them were African American, one of them was Latino. One of them was white. All of them had amazing stories. One of them dropped out of school when he was a young kid. Now he's making film about his experience in the prison system. One of them served 10 years in prison, then got a job at Five Guys, which is a tasty burger. And they gave him an opportunity, and he rose up and became a general manager there. and now is doing anti-violence work here in the community. One of them, the young Latino man, he came out of prison and was given an opportunity to get trained on green jobs that are helping the environment, but also gave him a marketable skill. And he talked about how the way he's staying out of trouble is he just keeps on thinking about his two daughters. And I could relate to that, because you don't want to disappoint your daughters. And then one of them, Jeff Copeland, was arrested 6 times before his 38th birthday. He was drinking, using drugs, racked up DUI after DUI, sentence after sentence. And he admits that the sentences he was getting for DUI weren't reflective of all the trouble he was causing, could have been worse. And Jeff spent so much time jogging in place in his cell that inmates nicknamed him the Running Man. And he was literally going nowhere, running in place. And then, somehow, Jeff started examining his life. And he said, "This isn't me." So he decided to hold himself accountable. He quit drinking. He went to met a recruiter from the re-entry program at the Community College of Philadelphia. Enrolled in classes once he was released, made sure to show up every day. Graduated summa cum laude with a .95 GPA. And this fall he'll graduate from Temple University with a major in criminal justice and a minor in social work. And he volunteers helping former inmates get their lives back on track.